Hey YouTube, thought I'd do a quick video today. I'm outside enjoying our warm weather that showed up finally. I'm actually out here thinking about cleaning out the garage, trying to get stuff done. I have my first oncology appointment tomorrow, so that's weighing in on my mind. But the YouTube algorithm has pretty much took my channel off their well, not off, but I haven't had any change in subscriptions or anything. But today we're going to talk about lithium batteries in bikes. So I've had a little pushback on range on the 300-pound video, saying that I'm wrong because some people get more range out of their bikes. When I recommend a range, or I say that for me the range is 22 miles, that's based on battery longevity, not draining the battery completely every time, because if you do that, you ruin the battery faster. It doesn't take long before you'll see a loss of range and other things. So that's why when I say that the range is 22 miles, that's safe discharge. It's at what point that you start to degrade the battery is anything beyond that 22. I went 25 miles and the battery was pretty much to the point it was going to shut off if I twisted the throttle. Now, to put that in perspective, on an expensive bike like the Trek I own with the Bosch system, there is no battery sag. It shows you what the battery level is, no matter how much input you're putting into the motor, it doesn't change. Whereas the electric, once you get off the below 50 volts, you start seeing battery sag quite a bit. And the battery sag is a function of poor BMS management and wiring. The wiring doesn't actually allow the BMS to keep the batteries in complete balance. So what you're seeing is the batteries readjusting itself over a period of time once you stop. So like if you're out on the trail and it says you have 3 bars left, and then you sit there for 10 minutes and then it shows it has 6 bars less, or 5, or however many bars it recovers to, that's the BMS rebalancing the batteries. Not really rebalancing, but the voltage of the batteries recover enough, and then it shows it. We're in a more expensive bike, it doesn't allow that to influence how much range you actually have left. It's actually calculated where the voltage is, and the BMS keeps better track of the voltage rather than letting the batteries rebound and show a difference in voltage. And then it takes into effect the overall voltage that is actually left. Like say you discharge the battery, a prime example would be a lithium jump start pack. You crank your vehicle and it shows the voltage going down to 8 volts while it's providing the like 300 amps. And then as soon as you stop cranking it, it goes back. And then if it's not really a good quality BMS, it doesn't calculate the remaining battery correctly, and it gives you a false sense of what actually is left. And that is in the cheaper e-bike category of batteries, that is pretty much universal that way. It actually isn't calculating your range or what percentage of the battery's actually left. Another thing is usable. So when they tell you that you have 10.4 amps on your electric battery, that's not usable amps. Only about 8 or 9 of those amps would be ideally usable. The last amp or the last percentage of the battery isn't usable. It's just the way the electric is. Battery sag, if you works both ways. It can show you the battery that you actually have left after 10 minutes, or likewise, when the battery sags as you twist the throttle, it'll cut power to the motor because it says the battery's fallen below the minimum requirement to be safe. So on the electric, that's somewhere between 38 and 40 volts, depending on how they set it from the factory. I've seen it in different places. Like on our bikes, it's 38 volts. That's the lowest voltage that they'll let the battery go to. It's adjustable to a point. But you need to keep in mind that if you run your battery down to 38 volts, you might get a year out of it. I don't imagine you'd get more than 2 before you start seeing a range degradation that just doesn't work anymore. My bike is running on year 3 now, or year 4? Year 3. And I haven't noticed any degradation because I never take the battery down below 46 volts. That's my cutoff point. So if you want the battery to last a long time, that's the way you got to do it. Is you got to say, well, this is my range, and I'm not going to go over it because I know that it's going to destroy my battery over time. So keep that in mind. I got an email today saying that Electrics came out with their 3.0 bike. They're calling it the long range. Well, all they did was put a bigger battery in it. For the most part, the bike remained the same colors, same bike, just different battery. You can buy that battery on Alibaba, AliExpress, whatever, from China Direct for about $260 if you want a long range battery for your bike. It's 14 amps, just like the one that Electric sells, and then the reason 14 amps is pretty much the cutoff for that is because of the battery casing. You could add a second battery like they did with the other bike, but your 14 amps is pretty much for the battery casing. There's room in the frame of the full-size bikes, and I'm not saying the light, the other bikes. There's room in the frame for a longer battery, but I'm not sure how much longer. I've measured it. I think it's 3 inches beyond where the battery sits in the frame. So you could put a bigger battery if you built a custom one. If you never remove the battery, you wouldn't even have to build it. In case you could wrap it in shrink wrap and just slide it up in there and set the plug in the right place, and you'd be good to go. You could actually maybe get as high as 21 amps, maybe even higher. I don't know. Just depends on how many batteries you could fit in there. But range wise, the Ford it basically adds about 25% to your range. There's plenty of people out there that have bought the battery off AliExpress and have it in their bike and is using it. So 25%. So that would probably put you up in the 30-mile range. But I have never felt that the electric bike was comfortable enough to even worry about buying an extended range bike. For me, it isn't. For you, it might be, but just me, it isn't. So that's why I have never even thought about buying a bigger battery. Once I get to that 20-mile range on the bike, it becomes uncomfortable for me to ride. So that's why I've never considered it. So I thought I'd put that out there, why the range for a 300-pound rider is 22 miles for me because of my riding conditions and my weight. That's the limitation. I've seen people claiming that they've gotten 60 miles out of a battery. That would be on PES1 and them doing more of the work. The baseline draw on the battery is about an amp with the bike running and the lights on and that, all with the computer, not computer, I don't even want to call that thing a computer, but with the everything running, that's where you end up, is about 1 amp. So 60 miles would probably take you 10 hours to ride on that bike, and that 1 amp that is drawing would kill the battery over 60 miles. If you're pedaling over, say, 10 miles an hour on the bike in PAS1, the bike is literally doing nothing but providing you information. So that's where they're getting their 60-mile range from. That's my thoughts on all this. Hope you're all having a great fall. Talk to you soon.